I think we chatted a bit before this, and you said, you actually like Sam Harris. But where do you feel like your perspective differs compared to what we see online in the no free will community?
Well, Sam Harris is just representative of mainstream determinist or mainstream anti-free will talk or positions. There's nothing really special about his approach. It's very articulate, and it's out there in, some big popular format, so it's a good springing board. But what I say is not really contrary to his position. It's contrary to the determinist or anti-free will position. And that's based on, I would say, about a half a dozen just fundamental misconceptions on which determinism is based. And most of those misconceptions aren't talked about. So the debate is like over here, and 25% of what should be talked about, but it's missing a huge component. And that applies to Harris, and it applies to all the rest of the players, including the compatibilists, which is the idea that free will and determinism can coexist, which is a nonsensical idea, which, as I say, Harris does a great job of debunking in a chapter in his book. So those misconceptions apply to compatibilists, most of them, as well as determinists. Perhaps the biggest misconception has to do with science. I mean, you hear people saying all the time things like, oh, well, science has dismissed free will, or, oh, science proves that determinism is what governs the universe. Whereas one popular physicist who has a podcast says, if you go against determinism, you're going against science. And all of those claims are nonsense. And anybody who knows the state of science knows that they're nonsense. I mean, you have quantum physics, the most advanced science there is, and it's stuck between two narratives, right? I mean, the universe evolves deterministically in wave-like fashion. It's governed by the Schrodinger equation, a differential equation governing this deterministic evolution. The universe is deterministic, there's no free will. If we're determined, there's no free will. On the other hand, the second you rip open the box and you say, what's going on inside that deterministic system? Whoa, there are no waves. Waves have all vanished. All you see is particles, and they bump into each other and behave probabilistically, which permits the possibility of free will's existence. So for over 100 years, since its inception, physicists have been trying to figure out what's sometimes called the measurement problem, or the wave-particle duality. What the hell is this all about? Is the universe waves, or particles, or strings, or quantum fields, or fairy dust, whatever you want to say? And the answer is science doesn't know. So pull back a second, take a bigger snapshot, okay, of the state of physics. There's about 20 or 30 theories about quantum physics. There's no one quantum physics. There's no one theory. There's no one accepted version about which there's any kind of consensus. And all of these 30 theories are all over the place. They disagree with each other on everything. I mean, they have different mathematics. They have different formal structures. They predict different outcomes. And most of all, they have very different things they say about reality. So then take the top, well, I won't say top, I'll say the most discussed three, okay? Pilot wave theory and the many worlds theory, and the GRW spontaneous collapse theories, or family of collapse theories. Of those, the most talked about, two of them are deterministic, one is probabilistic. Two of them appear to preclude free will. One of them says, no, free will's possible. And then you take the next circle out of 6 or 7, they're all over the place. So this is the fundamental misconception. The next person who says to you, oh, well, come on, there's no free will. Science has determined that there's no free will. Know that person isn't saying anything about the state of science. What they're telling you is their preferred interpretation of a scientific theory that's unresolved and about which there's no consensus. And I don't think any physicist would dispute this. Physics doesn't know how to solve the problem It doesn't know what the universe consists of. And by the way, if we don't know what matter is, whether it's strings or particles and blah, 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 how do we know what, this is what causation, the pillar of determinism, is supposed to be operated on. It's what it's supposed to be governing. It's supposed to be what it's working through. So how do we know, if we don't know what it is it's supposed to be governing, how do we know whether it's governing at all or what the hell it is? I mean, it's like getting into a car and turning on the keys and you don't know where the road is yet. You know, it's so backwards. So that's the first misconception.